They was hating on the kid, that's fine. I'ma make a movie out these niggas one time. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything could change. I turn the page in this comic. Hey yo, my city riding. In a day of flower blossom when the sun fade. Every night it turn to Gotham, Batman and Robin. Not the heroes, but it happens when the op gets spotted. They whoop your ass and pat your pockets. Marvelous, everything real. Bitch, I never lied. Magneto lifting my arms to let the metal fly. All black Nina, call it black woman storm. But it rain on you niggas, don't get caught up in the storm. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything that changed, I turn the page in this comic book. I'm not Peter Parker, so why do niggas think I hang with them? When every time they around, my spidey sense tangling. Bodies on nice, for trying to be dead cool. Bodies in the water, that's how you make a dead pool. I bring carnage to these niggas, be an idiot. Dressed in all black, kinda looking like the symbiote. No matter if these niggas hating on me, I will never be a character erased from the story. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything that changed, I turn the page in this comic book.
Disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. Welcome to Blended Healing, Episode 3 of the reading of The Conservative Promise, Project 2025. The whole premise of this thing is to review Project 2025 because I think there's a lot of missing factors that y'all missed if you have read the document. The document is almost 1,000 pages long, and we're going to review every piece of it. So that way, you'll be ready so you don't have to get ready. You feel me? So that's where we're at with that. Like I said, we're going to go over this. Keep your comments cute. My block game is real good. I'm not saying that you can't say whatever you're saying, but keep it cute and not disrespectful as we go through this document. Ashe? All right. Let's begin. We left off at promise number 4, which is secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings of liberty. The Declaration of Independence famously asserted the belief of America's founders that all men are created equal and endowed with God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's the last, the pursuit of happiness, that is central to America's heroic experiment in self-government. When the founders spoke of pursuit of happiness, what they meant might be understood today as, in essence, ooh, look at all those descriptive words, interpretation. The pursuit of blessedness. That is, an individual must be free to live as his creator ordained, to flourish. Our Constitution grants each of us the liberty to do not what we want, but what we ought. The pursuit of the good life is found primarily in family, which is marriage and children, and Thanksgiving dinners and the like. Many find happiness through their work. Think of dedicated teachers or health care professionals, entrepreneurs or plumbers throwing themselves into their businesses. Anyone who sees a job well done as a personal reward, religious devotion, and spirituality are the greatest sources of happiness around the world. Still, others find themselves happiest in their local, voluntary community of friends, their neighbors, their civic or charitable work. The American Republic was founded on principles prioritizing and maximizing individuals' rights to live their best life or to enjoy what the framers called the blessings of liberty. It is this radical equality, liberty for all, not just of rights, but of authority, that the rich and powerful have hated about democracy in America. Since 1776, they resent Americans' audacity in insisting that we don't need them to tell us how to live. It's this inalienable right of self-direction, of each person's opportunity to direct himself or herself and his or her community to the good that the ruling class disdains. Hmm. Okay. But I knew it had to be a but. But the next conservative president should be proud, not ashamed of Americans' unique culture of social equality and ordered liberty. After all, the countries where Marxists elites have won political and economic power are all weaker, poorer, and less free for it. The United States remains the most innovative and upwardly mobile society in the world. Government should stop trying to substitute its own preferences for those of the people. And the next conservative president should champion the dynamic genius of free enterprise against the grim miseries of elite directed socialism. The promise of socialism, which is communism, Marxism, progressivism, fascism, whatever name it chooses, is simple. Government control of the economy can ensure equal outcomes for all people. He goes on to say that the problem is that it has never done so. There is no such thing as the government. There are just people who work for the government and wield its power. Wield it to serve themselves. I apologize. First, and everyone else a distant second. This is not a failing of our nation or socialist party, but inherent in human nature. Interesting. Nighttime satellite images of the Korean peninsula famously show the free market south lit up, with homes and businesses and cities electrified from coast to coast. By contrast, the communist North Korea is almost completely dark, except for the small dot of the capital city, Pyongyang, where a psychotic dictator and his cronies live. I could have sworn that the president-elect had a love affair with this dude. Now y'all talking about this dude? Okay, I digress. I'm sorry. Let's continue. The same phenomenon is on display in the infuriating fact that 4 of the 6 richest counties in the United States are suburbs of Washington, D.C., a city infamous for its lack of native productive industries. We see the same corruption expressed on an individual level whenever billionaire climate activists who want to outlaw carbon fuel transportation fly to a A-list conference on their private jets. Hmm. Or when C-19 shut down politicians like former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and California Governor Gavin Newsom were caught at the hair salon, this is in the document, or dining at a fancy restaurant after moralizing about how everyone else must stay home and forego such luxuries during the pandemic. For socialists who are almost always well-to-do, socialism is not a means of equalizing outcomes, but a means of accumulating power. They never get around to helping anyone else. He goes on to say that the Soviet Empire was a social and economic failure. North Korea, despite having its tyrants, is one of the poorest nations in the world. Cuba is so corrupt that its people regularly risk their lives to escape to Florida on rafts. Venezuela was once the richest nation in South America. Today, a decade after a Marxist dictator took over, 94% of Venezuelans live in poverty. Even socialist Senator Bernie Sanders, I see how they're tying this back to the United States. Okay, my bad. Home state of Vermont was forced to repeal the state's single-payer healthcare system just 3 years after creating it. Now, all of the aforementioned countries, sidebar, I'm sorry, are all dude's friends. But I digress. He said if he didn't win, he was going to move where? To Venezuela. Okay, I digress. I'm sorry. My bad. Let us continue. In every case, socialist elites promised that if only they could direct the economy, everything would be better. Very quickly, everything got worse. In socialist nation after socialist nation, the only way the government could keep its disgruntled people in line was to surveil and terrorize them. By contrast, in countries with high degree of economic freedom, elites are not in charge because everyone is in charge. People work, they build, they invest, they save, and they create according to their own interests and in service to the common good of their fellow citizens. Now, riddle me wrong, but doesn't that sound like a spin on socialism? On Marxism? I don't know. You tell me what your thoughts are on that. Let's continue. There is a reason why the private economy views to the maxim the customer is always right, while government bureaucracies are notoriously user unfriendly. Just as there is a reason why private charities are cheerful and government welfare systems are not. Pause. I know that when it comes to charities, and you can look this up on your own, the hardest thing is for a charity to operate in the United States because of all the governing policies and the amount of money that has to be paid in taxes that they describe as something totally different. They are scrutinized so much to the point that if charities do not get enough money, they can't even stay afloat. And this is done by design. But I digress. Jesus, Lord, have mercy. They said that charities are cheerful and government welfare systems are not. Change the fucking paint. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I'm done. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, where were we? It is not because grocery store clerks and PTA moms are good and federal bureaucrats are bad. It's because private enterprises, for profit or nonprofit, must cooperate to give to succeed. He's right about the give part. So, as the American people take back their sovereignty, constitutional authority, respect for their families and communities, they should also take back their right to pursue the good life. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting experiment. This is going to be interesting. They are messing with, never mind. I'm going to let y'all figure that out. Just by the words right here, all of this word salad that they got going on. Do y'all hear what they're saying? Do y'all hear what they're saying? All right, let's continue. To pursue the good life. Okay. The next president should promote pro-growth economic policies, but that spur new jobs and investment, higher wages, and productivity. Yes, that agenda should include overdue tax and regulatory reform. but it should go further and include antitrust enforcement. Oof, ouch. Antitrust enforcement? What in the world is going to happen to the Murdoch family and all them other families? Okay, I got, yeah, the elites that don't exist elites. Okay, I'm done. All right. Higher wages, huh? Wow. Right now, and this is just a sidebar, but right now, as we speak, people are getting laid off of their jobs ahead of what they're expecting to happen in 2025. People are getting laid off. So how does this equate to higher wages? How does this equate to productivity? All right. The good life. Waiting for the good life. I'm sorry. Against antitrust against corporate monopolies. It should promote educational opportunities outside the, here we go, the woke dominated system of public schools and universities, including trade schools, apprenticeship programs, and student loan alternatives that fund students' dreams instead of Marxist academics. They have some of this already, right? Okay. They must not know. But I digress. Shit. Woof. Good Lord. Just as important as expanding opportunities for workers in small businesses, the next president should crack down on the crony capitalist corruption that enables America's largest corporations to profit through political influence. Rather than competitive enterprise and customer satisfaction. I'm cracking my own self up reading this shit. All right. I'm sorry. Pro-growth reforms for America's voluntary civil society. They want your ass to volunteer. They keep bringing it up. Don't worry about that salary. Just volunteer to make America great again. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. My bad. It goes on to say that America is not in an economy, is not an economy. It's a country. Economic freedom is not the only important freedom. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, which are taking away. And the freedom to assemble, get out of town, where the dude wanted to shoot people and throw tear gas so he could walk across the street from the White House through the park to the other side where the church was standing, where he was holding the Bible upside down. Lord Jesus. I'm sorry. Assemble. Oh, this is funny. Oh, wait a minute. Those nice people over there in what was that, West Virginia? Those nice people assembling. We should have the right to do that. That also represents key components of the American promise. Today, in addition to the problem of big tech, censorship, we see speakers at universities shouted down, parents investigated and arrested for attempting to speak at school board meetings, and donors to conservative causes harassed and intimidated. The next conservative president must defend our First Amendment rights. We are now approaching the end of the foreword, which is the section of best effort. Ultimately, the left does not believe that all men are created equal. They think they are special. They certainly don't think all people have an unalienable right to pursue the good life. They think only they themselves have such a right, along with a moral responsibility to make decisions for everyone else. They don't think any citizen, state, business, church, or charity should be allowed any freedom until they first bend the knee. Woo! I can't. This agenda, the entire Project 2025, is a plan to unite the conservative movement and the American people against elite rule and woke culture warriors. Our movement has not been united in recent years, and our country has paid the price. In the past decade, though, the breakdown of the family, the rise of China, the great awakening, big tech's abuses, and the erosion of constitutional accountability in Washington have rendered these divisions not just inconvenient, but political suicide. Every hour the left directs federal policy and elite institutions, our sovereignty, our Constitution, our families, and our freedom are a step closer to disappearing. Conservatives have just 2 years and one shot to get this right, with enemies at home and abroad. There is no margin for error. Time is running short. If we fail, the fight for the very ideal of America may be lost. But we should take the small window of opportunity we have to act with courage and confidence and not despair. The last time our nation and movement were so near defeat, we rallied together behind a great leader and great ideals, transcended our differences, rescued our nation, and changed the world. It is time to do it again. Now, as then, we know who we are fighting and what we are fighting for. For our republic, our freedom, and for each other. The next conservative president will enter office on January 20th, 2025, with the simple choice: greatness or failure. It is going to be a daunting test, but no more so than every generation of Americans has faced and passed. The conservative promise represents the best effort of the conservative movement in 2023 and the next conservative president's last opportunity to save our republic. Now, to me, the way that ended was that this is the last chance that started in 2023. And to me, this reads a last opportunity to save our republic, meaning that to me, as they conjecture, so will I interject, that there may not be any more. Because if you remember what he said, just vote for me this time and you don't have to worry about voting again. So now we're getting into the meat and bones of everything. Section 1 pertains to everything under Section 1, pertains to everything of taking the reins of government. It's a short read, so I think we can get through this. Yes, we can. It's a short read. It's the foreword of Section 1. America's bicentennial, which culminated on July 4th, 1976, was a spirited and unifying celebration of our country, its founding, and its ideals. As we approach our nation's 250th anniversary, which will take place during the next presidency, America is now divided between two opposing forces: woke revolutionaries and those who believe in the ideals of the American Revolution. I just want you to think about that. The American Revolution. What did the United States look like during the American Revolution? The former believed that America is and always has been systemically racist, and that it is not worth celebrating and must be fundamentally transformed, largely through a centralized administrative state. But oh no, isn't this for the people, by the people? And now they want to centralize everything. Okay. This is going to be a good experiment to watch. Painful. The latter believe in Americans' history and heroes and its principles and promise in everyday Americans and the American way of life. They believe in the Constitution and the Republican government. Conservatives, the Americanists in this battle, must fight for the soul of America, which is very much at stake. Just 2 years after the death of the last surviving Constitutional Convention delegate, James Madison, Abraham Lincoln warned that the greatest threat to America would come not from without, but from within. This is evident today, whether it be a mask and vaccine mandates, school and business closures, efforts to keep Americans from driving gas cars or using gas stoves, or efforts to defund the police, indoctrinate school children, alter beloved books, abridge free speech, undermine the colorblind ideal, or deny the biological reality that there are only two sexes. But left's steady stream of insanity appears to be never ending. The next administration must stand up for American ideals, American families, and American culture, all things in which, thankfully, most Americans still believe. Highlighting this need, former director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Voigt, writes in Chapter 2, the moderate conservative president's task is to limit, control, and direct the executive branch on behalf of the American people. At the core of this goal is the work of the White House and the central personnel agencies. Article 2 of the Constitution vests that all federal executive power in a president made accountable to the citizens through regular elections. Our founders wrote, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Accordingly, Voigt writes, it is the president's agenda that should matter to the departments and agencies, and not their own. Yet the federal bureaucracy has a mind of its own. Federal employees, I want you to listen to me. Federal employees are often have their own ideals that are aligned, not with the majority of the American people, but with one another, posing a profound problem for the Republican government. A government of, by, and for the people. As Donald Devine, Dennis Kirk, and Paul Dans write in Chapter 3, the autonomous bureaucracy has neither independent constitutional status nor separate moral legitimacy. Byzanate personnel rules provide the bureaucrats with their chief means of self-protection. Civil servants, ladies and gentlemen, civil servants. What's more, knowledge such rule is used to thwart the president's appointees and agenda. As Devine, Kirk, and Dans write, managing the immense bureaucracy of the federal government is impossible without an understanding of the key central personnel agencies, their governing laws and regulations. Many of these laws and regulations govern a largely underworked, overcompensated, and unaccountable federal civilian workforce, as are so irrational that they would be comical in a less important context. This is true whether it comes to evaluating employees' performance. I know in government they do not do employee performance. That's private sector. I digress. Or hiring new employees. Only in federal government could an applicant in the hiring process be set to the front of the line because of the history of drug addiction or alcoholism, or due to the morbid obesity, irritable bowel syndrome, or a psychiatric disorder. So, in civil service, as you know, you take a test. Don't care about none of that. They take a test. And if you ace the test, of course, you go to the top of the line. That's how it works. That's just the way it works. When you are a civil servant serving in any government, whether it's local, state, or federal. Many of these laws and regulations governing, oh, wait a minute, we did that already. In order to carry out the president's desires, political appointees must be given the tools, the knowledge, and the support to overcome the federal government's obstructionist human resources departments. Yeah, it's called education. It's called learning. Yeah, okay. More fundamentally, the new administration must fill its ranks. Hear me clear. The new administration must fill its ranks with political appointees. Devine, Kirk, and Dans observed that the Trump administration appointed fewer political appointees in its first few months in office than any other recent presidency. This left career employees in charge in many places. This can occur even after departments have been fully staffed with political appointees. I can't even believe I'm reading this. Voigt writes that the White House Office of Management and Budget should establish a reputation as the keeper of the commander's intent. I thought that they didn't want anything to do with finances. Not the government, right? But the Office of Management and Budget must report to the president. Okay. Okay. Has to go along with the commander's intent. Yet, The OMB is dominated by career employees who often try to overrule political appointees serving in the various executive departments. Empowering political appointees across the administration is crucial to a president's success. Above all, the president and those who serve under him or her must be committed to the Constitution and the rule of law. This is particularly true of conservative administration, which knows that the president is there to uphold the Constitution, not the other way around. If a conservative administration does not respect the Constitution, no administration will. In Chapter 1, former Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Rick Durban, writes that the White House counsel must take seriously the duty to protect the powers and the privileges of the president from encroachment by Congress. Co-equal branch. But the White House attorney is supposed to go after Congress? Okay, maybe I'm reading into this wrong. Encroachments by Congress, the judiciary, and the administrative components of the departments and agencies. Equally important, the president must enforce the Constitution and the laws as written, rather than proclaiming new law unilaterally. Presidents should not issue mask or vaccine mandates, arbitrarily transfer student loan debt, or issue monarch mandates of any sort. Legislators make the laws in a republic, not executives. It is crucial that all three branches of the federal government respect what Madison called the double security to our liberties, the separation of powers among the three branches, and the separation of powers between the federal government and the states. This double security has been greatly compromised over the years. Voigt writes that the modern executive branch writes federal policy, enforces the policy, and often adjudicates whether that policy was properly drafted and enforced. He describes this as constitutionally dire and in urgent need of repair, adding that nothing less than the survival of self-governance in America is at stake. Woo, is that an oxymoron? When it comes to ensuring that freedom can flourish, nothing is more important than deconstructing the centralized administrative state. Political appointees who are answerable to the president and have decision-making authority in the executive branch are key to this essential task. The next administration must not concede such authority to non-partisan experts who pursue their own ends while engaging in groupthink insulated from American voters. The following chapters will detail how the next administration can be responsive to the American people, not to be entrenched by the elites. How it can take care that all the laws are faithfully executed, not merely those that the president desires to see executed, and how it can achieve results and not be stymied by an unelected bureaucrat. And we're done for today. The next time we'll pick up will be on page number 56 of 922 pages. And we're now getting into the meat of Project 2025, where all of the authors now have their own section. And the next one that we will be talking about is going to be the White House Office, written by Rick Dearborn. Ashe, Ashe. I want to thank you for coming by. Like I said, thank you for keeping it cute and not going off. But it's very important that you understand what the heck we're about to go through, because that alone was nothing but a bunch of word salad. And if you can read between the lines of that, and then as we listen and go forward in this document, keep an open mind and not interpret for yourself, but listen to what the words are saying. And they throwing a whole lot in there. A whole lot. All right. Be well, stay safe. Ashe and deep bow to each and every one of you. Be safe. Be safe. And stay woke, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
No comparison to the so-called black or African American. You can drop the African, keep the American. When we say Aborigine and make their world in, I'm going in the same dirt my ancestors buried in. I come from a god and a goddess, so what that make me? Not even Basquiat can trace me. Not even Van Gogh can paint me. The MC in me is the god in me. Equals the god in me. I'm focused in, let my mind be free. You too blind to see. The Jews I give is real. It's been real. These ain't shots, they missiles. All you gonna hear is the whistle. Lyrically, this the execution. My verses start revolutions. From my people seeking restitution. Since the beginning, fuck evolution. Or maybe my reality is all a dream. I put it together like I was sowing seeds. So it seems this is that audio dopamine. Go against the machine. We put you where nobody can hear you scream. And sing you to meet you to Elohim. My nigga, this is savage mode. It's something that you hate to go. It started with a spark and I'ma let it explode. I was given the cheat codes that'll let me dump and reload and go through them waves like a fucking torpedo. You dealt the cards of life. I just left them diamonds with the ace of spades. Y'all scatter like roaches when they facing raid, or vampires when they facing blade. I'm trying to get next to terrain like I'm getting played. You still stuck as a mental slave. You still stuck in that mental cage. While I'm making easy money, pimping hoes in style. This my coming to age. Crowd roaring when I'm coming on stage. And when I'm done, they gon' be cheering my name. Drake Cobbs, and nah, I ain't quit my day job. I spit bars. I really rap on my day off. That's real shit. Just give you some tools you can build with. Aim high even if you still miss. Just keep going. It's a climb to the top, and I'ma keep flowing. Down Lake Shore, I'm Chicago going.